Hello everybody, it's Ken Coles here, Farming Smarter. Beautiful warm day near the end of July. Welcome to this edition of Plot Shots. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our rather interesting Irrigated Durum project. And this one is one that's been fun for quite a few years now. We were sort of challenged that Irrigated Durum agronomy hasn't really improved much in a long time. And so I thought, well, let's see if we can layer a few different management practices to tackle this. And one of them was actually the use of a precision vacuum planter. So we have a vacuum planter on 12-inch row spacing. And what we've been doing with that is that's quite a unique approach. You know, that's something you'd use to seed corn or soybeans. We started off a study looking at canola and then decided why not try all the other small grains that we have going. So the durum one is interesting because it's under irrigation and we can really push our yield boundaries. So we're going to look at sort of crop canopy architecture. What is that precise placement of seed and interplant competition and effects on tillering due to our maximum yield potential? Within that study, we're also layering on some other management factors such as increasing fertility, the use of plant growth regulators, and fungicides as well. So let's take a look at the plots and see what we're learning so far. So here we have a pretty good example of obviously a treatment that received a plant growth regulator. And you can see in this given year we had a pretty significant reduction in height. So that's probably a good 10 centimeter height reduction. The benefits of that now are that we can actually really push the agronomy on this plot. Lots of fertility, lots of water, and not worry about lodging, because one of the big issues in irrigated durum is lodging, and that actually impacts our yield and our harvestability piece. So we're finding already that the combination of both plant growth regulators and fungicides are allowing us to really increase our yield potential. This particular plot is just normal fertility, and it's with a planter. So if we look along the sides of our plots, we can see that it's very individual placement, so lots of space for each plant. And what that does is it affects how the plant we're tillering. If we want to have optimum yield, in all honesty, we don't want a lot of tillers. And so that's what having its own space interplant competition is actually reduced. And we're seeing a more even stand, less tillering, and a higher yield potential. So this particular plot didn't actually have fungicides, and you can see that we're actually getting into some leaf disease and even probably some physiological issues as well. Obviously it's usually pretty hot and dry, but this has been a rather wet June and July, and we're keeping the irrigation on. So let's just see if we can find a plot with some fungicide and look at the leaves. So you can see these plants are actually looking a little bit healthier. Not much for any kind of leaf burn or leaf disease on there, and that's always going to help. What we're seeing here is actually cereal leaf beetle damage. So this is an insect that has been around for about 15 years. It doesn't often hit economic threshold, but it just chews along the leaf and leaving this little window. So we'll keep an eye out for that. But otherwise, I don't think we're seeing a lot of infection. So this plot had growth regulator. It had maximum fertility, but it was actually planted at a lower seeding rate. So 150 seeds per meter square. And we can see that we're actually seeing the effects of the weed competition. So that's one of the issues that we have with the lower seeding rate. And in this trial so far, the lower seeding rate is actually detrimental to the maximum yield. So the next treatment we have is 300 seeds per meter squared. We're getting a better yield and more weed competition. So it is showing the benefit of a good seed density, a good seed population, and that's always the best way to compete with weeds. This is one actually done with the air seeder. Actually looks pretty good. It does have the high seeding rate. It has max fertility. Looks like we've got a pretty good job on the weed competition, but one thing that's popping out right away is that we've got a little bit of a dip here. So this looks like an area where the air seeder wasn't quite as consistent. What happens then is all of a sudden weeds start coming through. So that's the benefit of having just that really perfect even stand. So overall, this is the third year of our study. We have found that on the high end, we've had a range from about 80 to 120 different bushels per acre. And with durum prices at somewhere around $18 a bushel, that makes a huge impact in the bottom line. So it's really interesting to find out that there is still more work that can be done in both managing the architecture, the addition of plant growth regulators, and just doing our best job to take advantage of the yield potential of these durum varieties. Till next time, it's Ken Coles. See you.